You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you?
It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, isn't it?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities, Monday, January 12th. Thank you guys so much for joining us wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's a Monday. I know Mondays stink, especially after the weekend of sports that we just got to enjoy. Mondays are no fun, so let us help you get through your Monday. We got a lot to talk about here on OTAs. We kick off a busy week here on the show once again as well. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. The chat is up and going. We love the chat. We love to be interactive. If you have opinions, and there are plenty of opinions to be had today, jump on there. Let us know what you think, all those kind of things as well. Make sure you subscribe to the show. If you haven't, do it. If you already have, thank you. We appreciate that as well. We're live on X. X is always very, very good to us. So if you watch the show on X, we appreciate that. Same thing. Give us your feedback, your comments, all of those kind of things. We have a couple poll questions going on right now on X. We'll get to those in a second. Weigh in. Also give your opinion in the comments. We'll read some of those throughout the show if we can, if we have time. So do all those kind of things. It makes the show much more fun. I talked about it a little bit last week. I grew up on sports radio, and I would love nothing more to have a phone bank and callers and all of those kind of things. I'm trying to figure out a way to become more interactive with people. Obviously, the chat is great. Trying to figure out a couple different ways of how to do things. So, but yeah, the more, the merrier, all those kind of things as well. We're also up on all of your podcasting platforms as well. Just put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo and listen to the show as well. And also, last but not least, welcome to those viewers in Central Iowa. You can see us on the WHO streaming platform every night at 7 p.m. We've enjoyed the heck out of it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed a little bit of it as well. A busy show. I want to before we get into what we got coming up, I want to thank once again Andy Furman from Godfathers for letting us crash Godfathers on Friday, kind of do a little celebrating, a little fun show, if you will, as we celebrated 1 year doing this last Tuesday. So again, thank you to Andy Furman. The pizza, the wings were delicious. All of those kind of things as well. Thank you to everyone who stopped by when it came to guests, when it came to Tom Kakert and Don Umland, Andrew Lehman. We really enjoyed catching up with Andrew. Hadn't had him on the show in a little bit, but I'm going to have him on more, not just for his golf expertise, but for everything else in between. Also, we got to keep bugging him about the concerts. He said I think he said 30 to 45 days. They hope to announce, because that weekend is 4th of July. So the quicker you get out who's coming, the more people can make plans to spend their 4th of July weekend at the John Deere Classic, which you already should. So thank you to Andrew and, of course, Jake Kidwell, not only for coming on my show, but giving us little OTA a little love that night on television and on the streaming platforms there on Channel 4 as well. So thank you for that as well. If you missed that show, go check it out from last week as well. Busy show today. It was rivalry weekend, I like to say, around the Quad Cities. Two of the best in our area, Iowa, Illinois, Bears, Packers. When you get to the Quad Cities, that's a huge rivalry. Both of them are huge. Coming up in a matter of moments, we're going to have Tom Kakert and John Bohnenkamp, two long-time beat writers for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I say long time. No, I'm kidding, boys. They're not that old, but they've been doing it for a long time. They were both at Carver Hawkeye. We got up to Carver Hawkeye as well. I went there to work. I helped a little bit. So that's true. And they know that. But also got to take my four boys up there as well. So great game, great atmosphere at Carver Hawkeye. Iowa falling in that one to Illinois. The Illini winning that one after getting up 21-5 early. So we'll get the Iowa perspective from TK and John coming up in just a little bit. After that, we'll get the Illinois perspective on things. Always great to see my good friend Jim Mattson in person. We see him here on the show a lot, a legend in the state of Illinois. He always makes the trip to Iowa City for the Iowa-Illinois game, which is awesome. So Sunday morning, it's 15 minutes from before tip-off, and I look down, and there's Jim Mattson, the hardest working guy in television. So we'll have him on in the second segment to talk about the Illini side of things. And then in the third segment, we'll talk Bears-Packers, the craziness that was Saturday, because they did it again to the same team. Like, they beat their rival that way twice in the last month. And they did it this time to win a playoff game for the first time in like 23 years or whatever it is. So craziness. I have said to Bears fans, and I mean it, it's nothing bad from me today. Enjoy the heck out of it. The way that they won that game against that team, and I don't like the Packers either, so was crazy. The fact that LaFleur has his job today is mind-boggling to me, and we'll talk more about that later in the show as well. But if you are a Bears fan, congratulations. The majority of you, I'm happy for. There are a few that annoy me. They do. And I'm not happy for you, but for the Scott Doctormans and the Chad Leisticos and my buddy Scott Weiss and all of those kind of things, enjoy it. I would still be watching it. I'd stop to watch my show, but then I'd be watching that game over and over. We'll talk all about that show or that game later on in hour number 1 as well. I do want to mention we have a couple poll questions up and going right now when it comes to the sports over the weekend. Number 1 is when it comes to the Bears. The Bears' crazy comeback win over the hated Packers will go down as one of the greatest in franchise history. I had somebody tell me that it was the greatest moment of Chicago sports history. It came from a Sox fan, so that realizes that Game 7 of the World Series for the Cub, which is the number 1 in my opinion. Also, the Chicago sports won 6 championships. There's that guy named Michael Jordan. But when it comes to the Bears, let's focus on in Bears history. Where does it rank as the greatest victories in Bears history? And I know 85, and I get that for older guys, and I remember 85. I was 6 at the time. I was probably doing the Super Bowl shuffle. I was young and dumb and didn't know quite what I was doing yet when it came to my fandom. But where does it rank? If you're 40 or younger, you weren't around for those Super Bowls. Is it the best Bears victory of all time? So go to X and weigh in. The choices are best ever, sorry, 85. Second best ever, that 85 Super Bowl is still number 1. Or top 5, but there's more ahead, which I think some Bears fans would argue they think there's more ahead. So with that being said, go check out that one as well. The other poll question right now on social media, on X, go to @Matt Randazzo. The referees had both fan bases talking after yesterday's game. We'll talk about it with both Iowa beat writers and Jim Mattson coming up. Simple question. Which team had more to complain about when it came to the referees? Iowa, Illinois, or neither? It just didn't matter. Like the result of the game didn't matter because of the referees. Weigh in, give us your comments. We will share a few here on the air if we can as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. Also, a good day yesterday for Iowa women's basketball. They won on the road at Indiana after falling down double digits early in the game. They come back, they win that game as well. So Iowa with 2 road victories before they come home now. I know they got Oregon and somebody else this week. We're going to try to track down Kyle Huseman this week, obviously, as we always do, but also try to catch up with Rob Brooks sometime this week as well, the voice of the Iowa women, and kind of talk some Iowa women's basketball as well. Big night high school-wise when it came to high school basketball. This is the great time of year because it's really busy, and you're starting to see conference races come to focus, if that makes any sense. Over in the MAC, I do want to point out that we had Alvin Vesey on the show on Thursday. He is Bettendorf's head coach. They had a crazy win on Tuesday, a buzzer-beating win over Muscatine. And we talked on the show, and Coach Vesey was a little worried about maybe a jinx when it came to OTA. I feel like our track record's pretty good. Usually when you come on the show, you do well afterwards. There was one case last year where we had a coach from the MAC, won't mention who, came on the show and that team struggled the rest of the way. Other than that, like, I think we've done a really decent job. So Coach VC was worried going over to Pleasant Valley and playing the arch rivals, hoping that I didn't do anything wrong. Bettendorf beat PV. So the OTA good luck continues. Congratulations to Bettendorf. They won that game. Also, the girls won a big game over Pleasant Valley as well. So just a little bit of what happened high school basketball wise. We'll have some high school stuff coming up on the show this week as well. Last but not least, plenty of transfer news around the world of college football. The Iowa Hawkeyes picked up 5 commits since the last time we talked on Friday. We'll talk more about that with Tommy and John here in just a second. But KJ Phillips, running back from South Dakota, Evan James, a wide receiver from Furman. The big one was Tony Diaz. That came on Friday. He had an offer from a wide receiver from University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Comes to Iowa. Tyler Brown and Xavier Stiles, a pair of safeties, have committed to Iowa as well. It was a good weekend for Iowa football when it came to the transfer portal. They now have 11 commits through the portal. So, and doing a good job with it. We'll talk with Tommy and John with that in just literally a matter of moments. Last but not least, the national championship game is 1 week from tonight. It was Indiana cruising on Friday night. So impressive. They will now take on Miami. I don't know how they don't win a national championship, but it is, I mean, you got to play the game, and it's basically a home game for Miami. So you never want to just assume, but man, did Indiana look good. And how crazy is it that one of the, I think the losingest Power 5 school in history when it comes to college football is one victory away from a national championship and the heavy favorite to win a national championship. We'll talk more about that. Hoping to get Scott Docterman on the show sometime this week as well. But we start our Monday talking Iowa and Illinois and the game that was at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Iowa and Illinois, it was the Illini winning that one. They got up 21-5 to start the game. Never could quite get things going. We'll start our coverage of Iowa, Illinois on Sunday with 2 familiar faces to the Iowa beat. So let's start breaking down this Iowa-Illinois basketball game on Sunday. We'll start from the Iowa perspective with the old guys on the beat. Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody else, we've been called that before. So anyway.
I've been called worse.
Probably yesterday and today. Tom Kakert, John Bohnenkamp joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. Guys, I'm trying to unpack this whole Iowa-Illinois game, and I want to stay from the Iowa perspective. And that's kind of why, Tom, I didn't do Tom and Ked together and all that kind of stuff, because sometimes that gets lost in the translation and you kind of get all over the place. I want to focus with Iowa. And for the second, maybe third straight game? No, it'd be the second straight game because they got off to a great start against UCLA. Yeah. But for the second straight game, a slow start at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And like by the time we blinked, it was 20-5 maybe? Something like that. It felt like. What happened at the start of that game? Tommy, I'll start with you.
Illinois just kind of had their way with them offensively, and then Iowa on the other end, on their own offensive end, they were spinning their wheels. It seemed like they were intimidated by the size of Illinois, settling for shots, just kind of lack of movement, for lack of a better term. They just weren't moving without the ball, and it's just that clogged offense that sometimes they run into, and the next thing you know, it's 20-5, and you've dug yourself a hole. You can dig yourself a hole and almost get out of it against some teams, like a Minnesota team that's not as good, but Illinois is a good ball club, and they could never dig fully out of it. I think the closest they got was 4, and they never made it a one possession game. So they just dug a hole that was too deep.
Yeah, you look at that start, John, and we came in talking all last week about how long Illinois was. And I know you can watch it at home and you can see it, but it's like, well, the Iowa players are big too on TV. When you're there in person and you get up close and you see the length of Illinois, and the only length they don't have is Boswell, and he looks like a fullback, at some points. The length seemed to bother Iowa early on. Your thoughts?
Well, I've got my notes here, and this is the way it was. First 6 possessions, block, which I think that first block on the first shot of the game set the tone for the first few minutes for Iowa. So they went block, turnover, air ball, missed 3 by Cooper Koch, missed 3 by Alvaro Forgueres. That it just set them back at the point, because all of a sudden it's 8-0. And, and then it kept getting worse, and it's 21-5, And they just never got into a rhythm on the defense, on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, they just let them. And it was something Ben McCollum talked about after the game. There was that lane, that went from right along the Iowa bench right down the baseline to the basket, and that lane was open, so many times in that start, and they just got set back, and they were chasing the rest of the day, and you can't chase a team like Illinois. And yet at the end they still had chances, but they didn't convert those chances. And so it's just right now, this is what this team is, and they'll get out of it. I mean, I like what Ben McCollum's doing, but this was just one of those games that was going to be a bad matchup, and it was a bad matchup.
I felt like Iowa had to make shots to win.
Yep.
Shoot well. And I think Ken and I and Tom talked last week that if Illinois came out and made threes, it was going to be a long day. And I don't know what they were overall. I never looked at the final stats, but it felt like they made big threes, and key threes when Iowa kind of made a run. It seemed like they knocked down a shot here or there. I know Bennett didn't play well early. I was impressed with Iowa because when they made the charge late, I mean, it was, I think, an 18-point game, and Bennett picked up number 4 right around the same time. I mean, most times you're like, I thought it was going to be, well, let's see if I can find my kids when everybody was leaving with 10 minutes to go. And it was the Hawkeyes without Bennett that made that charge. What looked good in that segment of play, Tom?
They had better movement without the ball. Tate Sage, I thought, had some good minutes. I think Cooper Koch had a couple big buckets. And he's been struggling a little bit from 3. That corner 3 is really his best shot, and he got a couple of those to go down. I thought Tavian Banks, given how sick he was, Ben said after the game he'd lost like 8 to 10 pounds and was throwing up in the locker room after the game. I'm not sure that the foot Carver wouldn't have blown off if that dunk down the lane would have went down, where he just kind of flew up in the air out of nowhere and almost threw it down. One thing I wanted to point out, though, was something that Ben said after the game about, and John was talking about those lanes to the bucket. The attention to detail has not been there for Iowa the last 2 games in terms of taking away what the scouting report says you need to take away. And I think that was one of those things that was frustrating McCollum during the game. You could see there were a couple players that he pointed out on the court quite a bit that was talking to quite a bit that I think were the suspects in missing some of those scouting assignments or not following the scouting report. And if you don't do that, that's an advantage for your opponent, because your scouting report is a guide on how to potentially stop them. You're not going to stop them all the time, but it's going to give you the best chance to be successful. And Iowa was not following that early in the game, and that was really costly to them.
Well, there were times even late in the game, Tom, where it felt like Iowa was coming, they were getting there, and then it was an easy bucket. I remember one time I think they got to within 4, and somebody tapped Tavian Banks to get up a little bit, like over half court. And I think it was Boswell that went right around him and scored at the rim. I will say, I think the biggest moment of the game was Iowa was down 5 and they got that turnover and they went back the other way. And it was a lob to, I think from Koch to Banks. And if that goes, it's a 3-point game. Then they got the rebound, and Coop got an open look for 3. And if that goes, it's a 2-point game. And just to leave that little 10-second segment without getting within less than 5, I think was disappointing. But you mentioned there were breakdowns on defense. Let's talk about some referees and I talked to John before we got rolling that I don't think the referees changed the outcome of the game. I want to say that first and foremost. I think Iowa can't show up and get down 16 points in the first half against the number 14th ranked team in the country. And they gave up easy buckets when they needed stops. We talked about that. There's plenty of things Iowa did. Bennett Sturts didn't play well. Tavian Banks was hurt. There's plenty of reasons why Iowa lost the game. When you're putting them all in like a list, referees, I don't think in the top 3 or 4, but it's so weird that Illinois had 3 fouls called against them with like 80 seconds left to go in the second half. It's just wild to be on the road in the Big Ten. And the game was pretty physical. Like, I think you guys would agree. It was a physical basketball game. And the fouls were what they were. Now the craziest part, John, is there's Illinois fans and media on social media complaining about the referees as if which of the 3 or 4 calls did they make against Illinois did you not agree with? Anyways, your thoughts on the stripes at Carver Hawkeye Arena. You knew we'd talk about them. Before the game, you knew they'd be talked about.
Illinois shot 5 more free throws, made 3 more. Didn't get in, or didn't have enough fouls for Iowa to get the bonus for the second half. Stop with this. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. This whole game there was nothing in this game that had anything to do with the officiating. Nothing. You go back to the hook and hold, and we talked about this off the air. The hook and hold late in the game. That was the right call.
It was a hook and hold. Somebody said to me, They said Tate. Somebody said Tate Sage initiated the contact. Yes, it's called a blockout. That's the initiation of contact. That's called a blockout in basketball. Tommy, you have a smile on your face. Your thoughts on the referees on Sunday?
It's comical because I don't think I've ever seen a Big Ten game where one of the teams had 3 fouls called against them in a half, basically, until the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
It's Big Ten basketball. There's going to be 6 fouls on each side at least in a half. It's just how it is. You're
in
going
Minnesota,
to be
you all were shooting free throws in Minnesota with like 14 minutes left to go in the half. Remember? It's crazy.
But even there, I mean, there was the Minnesota game. There was that stretch where Tavian Banks goes to the hole on a turnover, and the Minnesota guys bodies him, and no call. And then on the other end, I'm starting to wonder if there's something with Ben McCollum and not working the refs enough. And I brought it up to him after the Minnesota game, just like, hey, what do you need to do differently to get to the line more often, to get you more fouls? And do you need to work the refs? And he talked about needing to, I don't know if teach guys, but it was almost like I got my guys how to create contact to get fouls and get to the line. And but I did see him talking to one of the refs during one of the timeouts. John, you and I were pointing that out, and he didn't even go in the huddle. And he was just over talking to Michael Irvin for a little bit, not the former wide receiver, the referee.
Question.
He was talking to him for a little bit.
Would Fran McCaffrey would he have survived the entire game?
Fran would have left the building. He would have been asked to leave.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I do think, and Tom made that point, and I do think it is that these officials don't know Ben McCollum. And he's getting to know them too. I mean, some of these guys probably work Valley games, so maybe he knows a couple of them, but he doesn't know a lot of them, and so he doesn't know what they're going to call and what they're not going to call. And I wanted to ask him that too: is there a learning curve for him with the officials? And I think I'm going to do that on Zoom call that we have with him. We haven't asked him, is that part of this whole learning process?
Sure.
I'm gonna start pounding my head on the table here about this. These people complain about these officials because this might be the dumbest thing that. But it was. I thought it was the game was fine. Until I looked up late and I saw that Illinois got called for foul, and I'm like, there's four. They only have 4 fouls, and there's a minute left to go in the game. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it was.
So
the one, John, that stood out to me was and I may have mentioned it, but it was 80 seconds to go, and Iowa got within 4, and Tavian Banks, I think, it was 70 feet away from the cup, just like reached out like that, and they called. And I'm like, with all the physicality that we've seen, there were 10 total fouls called in the second half. So it's not like Iowa had like 20. It was 7-3, which is still crazy. But with all the physicality, that's the one we decided to call and gave Illinois 2 free throws. And I thought it was a big difference. Tommy, your thoughts?
Here's the craziest thing is in basically like 17, 18 minutes of action in the second half, Bennett Sturtz had more fouls against him in the game than the Illini had as a team called against them. And that's crazy. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Bennett picked up that 4th foul with 11:36, I think, was left in the game. And that's another thing for him that he's starting to have to deal with is, and I think maybe a couple of those were, like the one today after he got his pocket picked, he fouled a guy, and that happened at Minnesota. I think that one was more accidental. He had fallen down, and the guy just kind of came over him, and they called a foul on him. And it was his second foul in the first half. But he's picked up 4 fouls in like 3 straight games. So it's something that he's going to have to adjust to. And teams are guarding him differently right now, and they're putting that Reynolds guy from Minnesota, stocky 6'4" guard that's got some power to him, that got in his grill a little bit. You saw Boswell today. He's a stocky, strongly built 6'2" guy, got in his kitchen today, and that's what he's going to see the rest of the year. Is guys are going to be getting in his space. They're going to put bigger athletic guards in front of him, and he's having a tough time getting past those ball screens and turning that corner on some of these guys. So it's something he's going to have to adjust to, and I'm just wondering if he's just kind of getting beaten up a little bit in the Big Ten's just much more physical than playing in the Valley, and opposing teams are going to be really physical with him coming off screens and everything else. They're going to be on it.
I think it's more physical than the NCAA tournament, obviously, as well. We've seen several times that, Big Ten teams have gone, oh, thank goodness, but you mentioned it. If you're going to be able to be physical like Boswell, and they're not going to call physicality, that's a huge advantage for the defense, and especially in this case, Illinois as well. Big picture real fast. I want to talk a little football with you guys too. Big picture though, that's 2 losses in a row and a rough week coming up. Now I have one of my sons. I'm not going to say his name because he gets cranky when I say negative things about him on the show. And it's not negative, but he can tend to be pessimistic. And he's like, they're going to lose 4 in a row. Are they going to make the NCAA tournament? And like the sky is falling and all that kind of stuff.
God.
Don't say his name. So anyways,
say his name and he'll appear.
Will they lose the next? Why do I feel like they're going to get one of the next 2 somehow? Gosh, that's tough because Purdue's Purdue, so they better go get Indiana. Anyways, big picture this for me, John. How concerned should Iowa fans be? That's 2 straight losses with a rough road ahead before Rutgers comes back to town in a week or so.
I wouldn't be that concerned. It's you knew at the beginning of the year that there were going to be games that were bad matchups for them. Michigan State was going to be a bad matchup. Iowa State was going to be a bad matchup. Illinois was going to be a bad matchup. Purdue will be a bad matchup. There's 20 games in the Big Ten schedule, and if they split this week, they're fine. If they get swept this week, they're fine. You got a long way to go yet. So This would have been a really good one to get for a lot of reasons today, and there's a psychological thing to it that I think would have been as impactful as the resume implications of it. But there's a long way to go. We're just now getting almost to mid-January. There's a long way to go.
Yeah,
and a lot of games left to play. So I would not be worried. I would not be worried about this team. If they go over and they get beat by Purdue, that's going to happen. Indiana is one of those ones that, if you want to be in that, because when you start thinking about the Big Ten and where teams kind of figure out, you want to be in that top of that second or third tier. You want to be in that 7th or 8th place. At the end of the year, you want to be 6th place. You want to be somewhere around there. To do that, you've got to win at places like Indiana. So don't sweat where they're at right now. Just wait and see how this all kind of develops here over the next few weeks.
Tommy, what says you?
I'm not all that concerned. This week's going to be a challenge. It was going to be a challenge even if they would have won both games this week against Minnesota and Illinois. They didn't. If you look at Indiana, though, I mean, they had a 15, 16-point lead against Nebraska, and in the second half, and let that whittle away and lost. Lost comfortably, I thought, to Nebraska. So they're reeling a little bit. Purdue is always going to be a tough place to win. It just is. It's a tough place. It's one of the best basketball environments in the game. So in Indiana, the interesting thing is how many Hoosier fans are going to be there. Are all those guys going to be down in Miami by then? Because that's 2 days before the college football playoff. So I don't know how many Hoosier fans will still be around. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a 5:30 game with Purdue on Wednesday, and then what was it, a 1 o'clock on Saturday over in
1 o'clock
Bloomington? So
in Bloomington,
we'll stay with basketball for real quick before we move on from men's basketball. I sat with Jeff Duncan. Is that his name, Tommy? Jeff
Duncan, the great Jeff Duncan. Yes.
And I had a blast. I mean, I really did. And he's spotting and calling stats and all those kind of things. But in between plays, timeouts, and everything, really enjoyed chatting with him. He mentioned that he knew you, which he apologized for that. And I
knows John too.
And John, I mean,
he knows John.
Yeah, he didn't.
Everybody knows me.
Stop.
Okay, anyway.
So, I had a blast. So, Jeff was fun. And I feel like I wish I went back to Carver with a victory. But I'll be back again someday, as Santa Claus said. I'll be back again someday. Tommy, or I guess both of you guys, the Iowa women, we're halfway through that game on Sunday, and you're looking at it going, man, like this is going to be a bad day for Iowa basketball. And then they righted the ship, and I think picked up in a big victory in Indiana. Tommy, I know Kyle was out there. We're going to have Kyle on the show either Tuesday or Wednesday to talk more about it as they get ready to roll along. Also efforting to get Robbie Brooks on the show this week as well. How important was that second half for the Iowa women in Indiana on Sunday?
Huge. They were down 15, 16 points in the first half and just hadn't made a three, just really struggling to get their offense going. And I think that they have 19 points at halftime, something like that, 18, 19 points. So it was just a struggle. And they got the offense going. Chit-chat got going a little bit, got comfortable. Hannah, I think, had a pretty good game. I saw Kylie Feuerbach and Taylor McCabe hit threes in the second half that were pretty huge shots. So Jan's team's good. They're just they've got a big week coming up. I think they have Oregon and then Michigan State. Is that right, John? I think on the weekend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Michigan State game will be a huge game. That will be a big game. So they've got some big tests coming up, but really nice win.
John, quickly, 18 points given up in the second half. That's going to win yourself a lot of basketball games, even when you're down double figures at halftime. That helps.
Well, it really helped getting Kylie Feuerbach back and getting her defense back, and so that's why they won this game. I mean that's a big road win. Again, going back to what I said earlier, you want to get, if you want to be in this top part of the league, these are the games you got to win. And they did that today. And so now it's like you've got an Oregon team coming in that's 14-4. You got a Michigan State team coming in next Sunday that's right around you in the national rankings and right behind you in the standings. So big week for them. That's why this game was important. I don't think you wanted to drop that game with what you've got coming up, because now, it kind of puts a little pressure on it. But they're in really good shape right now, I think.
I want to talk a little football. It was Tommy. We're eating pizza on Friday at Godfather's, and I thank you again to Andy Furman for hosting us on Friday and letting us come and mess everything up and all that kind of stuff. The pizza and wings and everything were delicious. And you talked about a wide receiver tax, and the concern was getting a receiver. And I was shocked too. Tony Diaz gets that offer from Alabama, and everybody's like, well, there goes that one. He commits to Iowa later that afternoon. Evan James, another wide receiver, commits on Sunday. He's from Furman. He's a All-American, freshman All-American as a freshman at Furman as well. How did Iowa land not one, but two wide receivers since last I talked to you?
The Diaz one was pretty wild, just because, that, like the day before when we were talking on that Friday, he says he's got the Alabama offer, and then it's out there that he's going to visit Alabama on Saturday. So you don't expect any news from him because he's taking a visit. The only news I was expecting was like Roll Tide or something from him on Saturday night or something. He goes down there and that's where he ends up. But and then there was the Instagram story that I've never seen. I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram, so but somebody said he said something about like Iowa doesn't throw the ball or something. And I was like, well, this just doesn't seem like a good marriage. But somehow they got to the altar, and the kid's excited. I was exchanging some messages with him on Friday night, and he is super excited about Iowa football and the culture. Talked about the culture and the coaches and the people at Iowa. So really good get. He's from Rio Grande Valley. He was also, redshirt freshman, All-American down there. I know he was their number one guy that they felt like they had a shot at. He was number one on their board. Number two was Tyler Brown, the safety from Jim Mattson. So those two guys were huge gets for Iowa. And then, today it's been like Xavier Stiles, LJ Phillips, the running back, Evan James, the other wide receiver from Furman, and keep an eye out for a punter from Australia, perhaps.
Of course.
Gotta watch. Boston Everett is the name of the potential punter that we've got our intel and eyes on right now. So we'll see if they end up landing him. But we've heard Aussie punter, so got that coming.
John, I think going into the transfer portal season, it's like Iowa needs to attack the wide receiver position, and then when Cohen Entringer goes into the portal, it's like Iowa needs a safety. And you look at this weekend alone, 2 wide receivers, a couple of safeties. I'm impressed so far with what the Iowa football program has done via the portal. And what I like the most about all of them is that for the most part, I think there's 11 transfers. The vast majority have 2 or 3 years left at the University of Iowa. They're not just rental players. Your thoughts on how they've attacked the portal so far?
Well, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things I like about that, and that's one of them. Because you're going to be able to keep some of these guys for a while unless they decide to leave again. But you've got that. You've got guys that have produced, and I mean they've produced at a high level wherever they've been. And it's not like you're getting some guy that is a high recruit that hadn't played somewhere. These guys have all produced. And the other one is a lot of them have come from really, really good programs, and solid programs that have good reputations. So for what they've done, they're not these big ticket items that they're buying, but they're really good football players that are going to help them, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's just you filled the holes you needed to fill. So I mean, you can't argue with that. That's a pretty good haul.
Tommy, I don't know how.
One thing,
Yeah.
Daz, one thing, because I've gotten a lot of feedback from people, and they say, "Oh, well, they're just raiding the FCS. That's all they're getting are FCS guys," and
So?
like that's a bad thing. John and I are both familiar with the FCS level. John covers the FCS level, covered a ton of Valley. I mean, there are good football players down there, and all of these guys have had offers, interest offers, whatever you want to call it, from some really good programs like the Diaz kid, obviously Alabama, Kentucky, Virginia Tech, all these guys. I mean, Tyler Bowen or Tyler Brown had, UCLA and other schools like that. I mean, they've all had, like the Styles kid had Pittsburgh offer on the table. So Phillips was Iowa and Penn State for his final two. It's not like they're getting guys that, they're beating out Arkansas State for this guy or Louisiana Monroe or something like that. They're beating legitimate teams for these players. So it's I would not worry about it.
And now you look at this offense, and we can talk defense another time too, but I mean, we know the tight end room is really, really good. We know the running back room, which was already pretty good, got better on Sunday with the addition of Phillips. And then wide receivers, you like some that are coming back, and you add two really nice ones. And the offensive line, I know, has voids to fill, but they've added some there. And it's the offensive line at the University of Iowa. I think it's going to be okay. I don't know if it might not win the Moore Award next year, but it's going to be okay. So impressed with all those. Before we go, Tommy, the floor is yours. The Bears did it again.
Yeah, it did.
That's it? Yeah.
Keep winning.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
winning.
it.
Keep winning. That's it. Bear down. Bear down.
The poll question right now is, where does Saturday night rank when it comes to moments in Chicago sports history? I had a friend, and I'll tell you who it was later, said it was the greatest moment in Chicago sports history. Obviously, he's a White Sox fan. He's a White Sox fan, and he may have had a few too many Cokes that night. But where does it rank when it comes to? I think it's the best Bears victory since the Super Bowl. Am I nuts?
That's not crazy. It's not crazy because of who it was.
Team.
Because of who it was.
Yes.
Because of who it was against. Because it was against your hated rival, and the way they came back in the game, and the greatness of Caleb Williams emerging on the biggest stage, the playoff stage. So
he was so bad early.
And Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson being the best coach in the NFL right now.
He wasn't very good early.
No, a lot. Hey, all that matters is what's on the final scoreboard.
As bad as they were early, the Packers were equally. You know what's crazy is, and I said it earlier in the show, but the Bears. Listen to this, and it's right here. I got it. Thank God.
Here he comes. Dazzle's going to tell us how the Bears are lucky again.
This is not a bad. No, it's not a luck thing, but this is just crazy. It's not a luck thing. Quit it. We're not arguing today. Bears fans should enjoy the heck out of it. The Bears are 3-3. They have 3 victories when down 10+ points with 5 minutes to go in the game. The rest of the NFL, 3-158. Is that wild?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
it's the greatness.
I'm
the
not
great
arguing,
Captain Clutch, Iceman. The Iceman.
I will argue with Bears fans the rest of the week. Today,
the Iceman.
I felt good for. There's Bears fans I don't feel good for, but I felt great for Weezy. I felt good for Chad Lystico. I don't like you, Tommy, so I don't feel good for you. There's Bears fans I feel good for. I would be watching that game over and over again today. Like I would have watched it all week. Not the game, but the second half. I watch all the time.
As a football fan who doesn't like the Bears,
a
but
football
just
expert,
in general.
a football expert that doesn't like the Bears.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Were you offended by Ben Johnson's comments in the locker room?
The F the Packers?
Yeah.
No.
Some folks are. Dick Vitale got all upset about it today on Twitter.
And we'll
Called it
argue about
classless.
this. We'll argue about this for years. But Caleb Williams will be a Bears quarterback for the next 10 years. And Ben Johnson will be there as long as he wants to, simply because of this month. Simply because of the throw in overtime and that comeback. I mean, he can be as pedestrian can be. That, and then Ben Johnson, yes, he doesn't care about who. It's like, if I'm trying to think of the Iowa villains of the past. Who cares if the rest of the world likes you? You're adored in Chicago. That's all that matters. I'm not offended by it. I would, if he'd yell F the Lions, I'd be ready to roll. But that's when you play again next year. I'm telling you, LaFleur, it's mind-boggling that the Bears, and we can talk this out, I don't think in the San Francisco game, and I watched all of it, the Bears didn't force a punt, did they? They gave up 42 points, and then the other drive was a pick six. I don't think the Niners ever punted in that game.
Oh, the Niner game, yeah.
Yes. And then the Lions punted twice. So in 8 quarters, and then the first half, the Packers didn't punt. So in 10 quarters, the Bears defense had forced 2 punts. They forced 4 straight punts in the third quarter to start this third. That's wild. That's just saying we have enough points. We're going to shut it down. No. They should have scored 42 points.
They put, and I know they're focused on Kyler Gordon getting kind of picked on a little bit, but when he came out in the field, the defense started playing better. He didn't play first half, basically.
Yeah. I don't think it was Kyler Gordon. I think it was more of the Packers game plan. Go ahead, Johnny.
I will say this about the F the Packers thing. Every team hates somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that is, and college, I don't care if it's professional. They hate the coaches. They hate the players. That's sport. You know, I hate the Padres. You know, I'll say it right now.
He does.
You're a Dodgers fan. You live a charmed life.
Well, that's true. But I will say this about the Bears. The team behind me, they're coming. I'm getting back on the Rams bandwagon for this one. So
Are you and your brother? John, are you and your brother going to brawl this week?
We haven't talked about this yet, but I will start to become insufferable here in the next few days. So,
I love it.
So anyway, hey, I'm just telling you. LA's the city of champions right now. There's a vibe out there, you know that. So, it's over. So.
It is ironic, and we got to get going. But that Matthew Stafford is now the next game I have to watch, and I was very happy for Matthew Stafford winning a Super Bowl the first time around. I'm a huge Stafford fan, still am. I was happy for his first Super Bowl. I don't want to see him win another one, but
I don't want to see his best friend.
But I don't want to see, what's that?
Who is his best friend? Matthew Stafford.
Oh, God, Clayton Kershaw. Okay, yeah. Bye, fellas. Tommy, thanks for not bringing up the Dazzler. See ya before you do.
Oh, he's coming.
All right. We thank you to those two, of course, for joining us. We're going to get the Illinois perspective of what happened at Carver Hawkeye Arena on Sunday. Jim Mattson from Peoria, Illinois expert of ours, was at Carver on Sunday. He'll join us right after this. You're watching OTA on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities, of course, talking plenty of Iowa and Illinois. The rivalry renewed itself at Carver Hawkeye Arena on Sunday morning. You're like getting home from church and turn on the TV, and it was time for Big Ten basketball, of course, before the busy day of football. So I got to Iowa City yesterday, first time all year that I went to a basketball game, and of course I knew I would run into a familiar face. And there's Jim Mattson all the way up from Peoria, covering first and foremost the Illini, but also a little Cooper Koch as well from your neck of the woods. First and foremost, Happy New Year, my friend. How are you?
Well, Happy New Year. Yeah, I like the 11 a.m. starts. I'm up early and it gets me done early, so I don't mind the 11 a.m. starts. And it was fun to be in Iowa City. It was fun to see kind of a loud crowd. It was a fun environment. I just wish, with this 18-team Big Ten, we're going to so rarely get 2 Illinois-Iowa games, and I wasn't going to miss out on not going to any. So I was excited to get over to Iowa and see the Illini and the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, and we love it because, and this isn't your first trip to Iowa City. I'm covering it for a long time. I would always see at the Iowa-Illinois games as well. We'll talk about Coop in a second. You mentioned the environment, and as an Iowa fan, I sit there and it's full, it's energetic. And it's tough because the game didn't go Iowa's way early. And Coach Underwood kind of talked about, they took them out of the game. Iowa fans seem to cheer loudly when something good happens instead of helping their team in order so something good happens, if that makes any sense. They're more reactionary. Your thoughts, I guess, my long question to you, your thoughts on Carver Hawkeye, because it looked different yesterday than it had in the last couple of years, which is a good thing for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, the game it was 21-5 so quick that I think Iowa fans were like a little bit in dread and what's going to happen now. And in the second half, I think they were almost slow to say, "Hey, we're getting back in this." But once they got back in it, it was loud there for a while. And boy, Cooper threw that alley-oop dunk. Had they finished that dunk, Carver Hawkeye would have exploded. And then they missed I think a 3 that could have cut it to 2. And it just felt like the roof was about to come off, and it didn't quite come off. And every time you thought, boy, this one might be up for grabs, it just didn't go the Hawkeye way. But the crowd was I thought the crowd helped them in the second half, and it was fun to see. Like I said, Illinois-Iowa rivalry to me is great. So it was fun to see the crowd involved, and fun to see 2 top 20 ranked teams, and fun to think about maybe both these teams being in March again, which would be nice.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in the last segment we had a couple of Iowa beat writers on, and I mentioned that sequence that you just mentioned. It was 5. Alley-oop gets Gets it to 3.
Yeah.
They get the offensive rebound. Coop gets a good look from 3,
Yeah.
and it rims out. They just could never get over the hump. But I want to start with the start, because you do take 15,000 people. Let's say 13,000. Let's say 14. There was orange sprinkled in, a good arrangement of orange there as well, but a big crowd you take out of it with that 21-5 start. What did you see from Illinois that you liked early on, both offensively and defensively?
Well, I just think they're locked in right now. I think they're a strange combination of team, because I think both of their freshmen, I know Mirkovic has had a couple of days where he maybe hasn't shown up, but both Mirkovic and Wagler are kind of lunch pail guys. And Mirkovic had a big game rebounding, and Wagler is just as consistent as any freshman we've seen in a long, long time in Champaign. So to get two freshmen who aren't rattled at all by, this was really their first hostile Big Ten road game. And for them to come out ready to play, and for Illinois to play that well early, was, I think, a sign of maturity of this team, and a sign that, this team is, the everyday guys that Underwood likes to talk about, that they're ready to go every day.